Hello, everybody. It is Heather Lee with Ghost Education 101, and I am excited to be here for this week's edition of our presentations that we've been offering you guys lately. And my guest today, I'm excited to have him. I've known him for years from Florida. It's Larry Lawson. He is a former, was it a detective with the Sheriff's Department?
Detective with the state
Okay.
and PD and Sheriff's Department. So,
Yeah, well, welcome to our show, and we will be discussing paranormal ethics to start off, but I'm going to let Larry introduce himself and talk a little bit more about himself, his experience, and his team before we get started.
well, I appreciate you having me on the show tonight, Heather, and I'm really excited to share some thoughts with you. As you said, I'm a retired police officer. I spent about 40 years, a little over 40 years in the business. Started off in the as a corrections officer, actually, in the Dade County Jail in Miami, and that's where I had my first paranormal experience. And I wasn't a kid; I was 20 years old at the time. And went from there to patrol, spent some time as a detective, became a state investigator for the prosecutor's office, spent quite a bit of time as the director of the police academy in this region of Florida, and retired from that in 2013. And then went back to work full-time as a police officer and detective in the town of Fellsmere, where I retired, and then went part-time there, finally pulling the plug at just about 40 years, a little over 40 years. So that's a little bit about me, and that really does pull the thread through how I investigate my philosophies and theories on the paranormal. And that's kind of what I'm working on now, is just this type of work, as well as I'm doing some private investigation work on the side. And that's pretty much my story.
Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to pull up the slideshow for the
Okay.
ethical investigator, and then just let me know when you need me to change the page in case I don't change it fast enough for you.
No problem, I'll tell you. And to let you know, I've been actually looking into the paranormal probably, gosh, it's probably been closer to 20 years now, because for quite a bit of time I taught police officers how to investigate crimes, cult-related crimes, and things along those lines. Our formal team began actually investigating together about 2010. So it's been an interesting journey, to say the least. But probably one of the most important things that have come out of it for me is the importance of conducting ourselves in an ethical way, and that takes on a whole bunch of different forms. One thing about our business, too, our field of paranormal research and investigation, is there are really no rules. There's no structure. There's no guidebook like we have in law enforcement. And I like to talk about how, if there's a homicide down here in Vero Beach, Florida, there's going to be changes in some of the laws and the rules and procedures, but essentially how we would investigate a homicide here would be the same way they would investigate it in Tacoma, Washington. There's just a certain set of standards, and that's the one thing that I'm hoping that we can somehow meld together here in the paranormal field, because that will help us ethically as well as efficiently investigate the paranormal. So with that, we'll get right into some of the stuff I wanted to talk about, and some of the stuff's going to seem pretty obvious to you folks, and I apologize for that. And I am not saying that I am 100% my way's the only way. That is not what I'm saying. These are the rules that my team and I work with, and it helps us, and we're hoping that maybe some of this will help you. First of all, why do we investigate? What is our purpose for doing this? What is our goal for conducting an investigation? What's our motivation? All those things help mold what we are as paranormal investigators. And also, you got to ask yourself questions. I mean, we do it all the time in law enforcement. Am I doing this right, or is this the right way? But what kind of investigator do you want to be? Are you the type of investigator that is looking to prove? Are you looking for something that's going to be exciting? And I call that, and there's nothing wrong with this. This is just the type of investigator that I've actually written an article about, called the paranormal thrill seeker. Are you just enjoying going out on the weekends and experiencing this? There's nothing wrong with that at all. But compare that with the investigator that is doing research to come up with a conclusion. There can be some differences there. Also, what is your team able to do for the client? whether it's you're investigating a home, you're investigating a person that's having experiences everywhere. What can your team do? And that's an important part of this ethical question, because we don't want to make promises we can't keep. Go ahead, Heather. Go to the next slide. First thing when I start talking about ethics is we want to do the right thing by our clients. So knowing the history of the venue is very important. Now, here's where we can have some debate. There are many folks that say don't want to know anything about the venue. And I agree with that to some extent. As far as specific sightings, specific events, you may not want to know going in. So therefore you can have an absolutely clean slate in front of you. But I do think it's important you know about the history of it, when it was built, how long it's been there, were there any events that happened around it that might provide you with information that will help you investigate, names of people, things like that, that can actually help you investigate. Knowing the physical layout of your venue, those are for safety reasons. Know what you have, and we would do this in search warrants, for example. We would pull house plans to the county property appraiser's office and things to look at how the house was laid out, just so that we know what it is we're looking at. And also getting to know your host a little bit. And that goes into a whole bunch of items that we'll do a pre-investigation interview. We want to know who's lived in the house. Have there been any other issues? Frankly, we want to know if folks have had issues that could influence what they're experiencing, if you know what I mean. Is there any drug abuse in the house? Has anybody conducted any dark experiments, if you like, seances and things in there prior to? You really should know. Now, where does this come into ethics? This is doing your client a favor by knowing exactly what it is they're experiencing, not what they're experiencing as far as physically what they're seeing, but what their state of mind is and what the general layout is. It's important that your client is comfortable knowing that you know what you're doing. Knowing some of your responsibilities are very, very important. And of course, this is the cop in me coming out. And again, do you have permission to be there? Now, I'm not going to ask you to raise hands and say who's gone somewhere that they shouldn't. I won't even say that I haven't on occasion. But all kidding aside, you do have to have permission to be there. And did the person granting you permission have the authority to do so? We had this happen to us not too long ago. We went to a cemetery. That it was public in a sense, but it was run by a board, and we were told we had permission to be there, and we didn't. And it turned out to be kind of an embarrassing situation that we worked through. But the person that granted us permission didn't really have the authority to allow us in there. So always check on that. Some of the issues that result from you investigating without permission, well, for starters, you can go to jail for trespassing, and it has happened. And there are groups out there that may have done something prior to you going in there and maybe damaged a piece of the property, and now you show up, and the owner of the property wants some action taken because of what happened prior to it, even though you may not have done it, but you didn't have permission to be there. You could find yourself in legal trouble, and that creates a whole bunch of issues. That last button you see there is duty of conduct. And what I mean by that is you're responsible for how you conduct yourself on the scene, at that venue. Not only for legal reasons, but also the reputation of your organization and the reputation of the rest of us in the field. How you conduct yourself affects all of us. Heck, we have that happen in law enforcement. You'll have one idiot do something stupid, and next thing you know, everybody is painting us with the same brush. It happens here in the paranormal field too, and I know of one particular famous spot here in Florida that paranormal investigations can't be conducted there anymore because of a fairly famous organization that was in there, and they treated people, the venue, the hosts, with disrespect, and nobody's allowed back in there. So keep that in mind. Duty of conduct, how you present yourselves, how people see you, not only affects you, but affects all of us in the field. Go ahead to the next one there, Heather. Civil liability. How is that ethical? How does that tie into ethics? It really does, because once again, it shows you being conscious of your civil liability and things that you need to be aware of. gives faith and credibility to your organization and those that you're dealing with. Is the venue safe to investigate? This is important. You go into a venue and you haven't checked it out. You don't. We've got on our team. I've got a retired firefighter, Spanky, is his name, and he's spent years at the fire academy. That's how I got to know him. He's our safety officer. He'll go into the building and he'll mark out areas with cones or whatever that might be dangerous, like the hole in the floor or something like that. You need to make sure everybody that's there with you is safe. It's just as simple as that. I mean, as far as they can be. It's like any other business, things can happen, but you need to do your due diligence, as we say, to make sure that everybody is safe. Know of any sickness or infirmaries that could put them in danger during the investigation. If somebody has severe heart problems and you're going into a particularly rough venue, you may need to think twice about them, or you may need to have them sign a waiver or something along those lines. But you need to know about it going in. You don't want to find out about it later. Forbid the use of alcohol or any substance that may alter the user. I know this is probably pretty obvious to everybody, but it happens. We do some events down here that are public, and we've had folks come in that they don't get alcohol at the event, but they bring it with them, if you know what I mean. And it's created some real issues, and you've got to be careful of that because when somebody is not they don't have their full faculties, they can trip, they can fall, all kinds of things can happen, and you as the lead investigator or the team, excuse me, you're responsible for that. So it's a civil issue. There are some folks, and there's a gentleman a very dear friend of mine that I work with, that has talked about maybe alcohol prior to would loosen up the mind a little bit, and there may be some truth to that. But from a liability standpoint, an ethical standpoint, I really recommend that you avoid that. Go ahead to the next one, Heather. Is the area end of the venue in a dangerous area? Oh, we were in a spot down in West Palm a few years ago with another team, and they had homeless people living in this hotel at the same time. They also had folks that were unfortunately using narcotics in the same building. You know, if you walk into a room where people are conducting some sort of illegal activity and you surprise them, it can become very, very dangerous. So it's your responsibility, and ethically it's important that you take that responsibility and make sure the area you're bringing people into is safe. Is it in disrepair, possibility of intrusion of unwanted guests? Have dangerous areas been identified and marked? And I strongly urge that, especially if it's a place you haven't gone before. Your team should have a safety officer to go in there and just take a look and mark those areas. Come back out in your pre-investigation briefing and saying, watch out for area A, B, and C. They're marked, but be careful. There's a hole in the floor. There's a loose banister or something along those lines. Civil liability. This is we're going into a spot. Let's see. I'm looking at my calendar now. The 13th. Where the owner, rightfully so, is going to have us sign waivers. Why? Because something happens, he doesn't want to get sued. So ethically, you should, especially guests, always should sign a waiver for you. Your investigators, if it's part of your team protocol to sign a general waiver, they should. One thing that we have, and I strongly, strongly urge, and I do this not only for the investigation, but most of my investigations lead to possibly where I'll take some other folks into. So we have insurance, and it's not a cheap necessarily option, but it's a wise one. And I've already had somebody get hurt, and I was very lucky that I had insurance. So that's something to think about. Now, if you're a 1 or 2 person team and you're maybe all in the same family, may not be as important as a team like ours, where we have a dozen investigators that could be out in the field at any given time. Not to mention folks that may be coming with us. Occasionally we'll have a writer or somebody from the news media that's with us. It's always important to have that type of insurance. Just food for thought, just my opinion, doesn't hurt to have team insurance, but at least use waivers, folks. I would really recommend that. Go ahead, Heather. Respecting the venue. This is the spot that kind of creates problems for all of us in the field. When you'll get folks that come in and don't respect the venue, and there's several things up there that you're going to see we're going to chat about. Respect is everything, and if you want to be respected, you've got to earn it, and you do that by, once again, your duty of conduct. Treat the property with respect. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that have talked to folks about investigating a venue, and it's no way. The last folks that were in here broke windows, they left candle wax all over everything, or they left candy wrappers all over the place. They were smoking inside the building, things like that. Treat the property with respect. That's camping. You always talk about, leave it as you found it. Well, we should take that same mantra here in investigating the paranormal. Leave the venue the way you found it, and show respect. Hey, maybe even clean up after somebody else's mess if you need to, but treat that property with respect. Do not conduct experiments or sessions in contradiction, rather, to the venue rules. There are some folks that do not want you may want to use a Ouija board. Our team does not do that. We don't go that route, but there are teams that do. But the venue may not want you to do that. They may not want you to use film. I was just talking to Heather about that a little while ago. Maybe they don't want you to take pictures. Don't do anything that the venue does not want you to do. And there may be times where that flies in the face of your team's protocol or what you're trying to accomplish, and you may have to respectfully just back out of the investigation. But the worst thing you can do is be told not to do this and then just do it anyway because nobody will know. Well, many times they'll find out. And when that happens, not only does that, once again, threaten your credibility, but it affects all of us in the field too. So kind of keep that in mind. This is just my opinion on that one. Leave the property the way you found it. We talked about that in detail. Report any accidents. It'd be easy to say, oh, they'll never know this. This place is a wreck anyway. They'll never notice this door handle came off. Well, folks do. And when accidents happen, and they do, things happen. That's one reason why, once again, I have insurance. And we don't talk about it. We don't tell them about it. It hurts all of us. So report it. Things happen. And a thought here is when you begin the investigation, explain that to the venue host. These are the things we're going to, and we do that ourselves. We're going to set up these cameras, these pieces of equipment. If anything happens, we'll let you know about it. And occasionally we'll get a glass bulb that breaks. We'll try to clean up all the glass, but there may be some left, but we'll try to get it all up. Let them know about it and certainly report it if it does. Any questions so far? Anybody have any questions so far or any thoughts on what I've brought up? Okay, go to the next one, Heather. Oh, here we go. Question, does he have any, do I? No. No. I am, as I like to say, as sensitive as a rock. My son, he doesn't like me talking about it, but a member of my family, shall we say, does have that ability. And we do have folks on our team that does. Me personally, no. Now, I say that, but there have been plenty of times as a cop, I'll be stopping a car at 3 a.m. and something just says, wait for your backup, or don't go into that building till your backup gets there. It's that a lot of us in this business have that gut feeling. And there are many people that feel that's a great argument to say all of us have some level of mediumship ability. But general answer to your question, no, I do not.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's any others real quick. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
How do you get company to cover this kind of insurance?
Well, with what I did with mine, that's a great question. Mine is through my tour company. I don't know that. I explain it by saying that we take folks there and we conduct investigations and we conduct tours, and that's how I've couched it. And it's been perfectly fine so far. But what I would do is if you have an insurance company that you deal with, talk with them about it. And just see what companies out there will write you a policy for what you do.
Okay,
Hope
and
that
then she
answers
did
it.
ask a follow-up question to see if you would be willing to share the company you use.
Sure, be happy to. If just we'll give out my email address, and I don't have it with me right now. Just give my email address. I'll be happy to send that information.
Yep. And I'll share all of your information on our page as well. So if you guys have any questions for Larry after the presentation, you can email him, and all of that will be on our page.
Okay.
And Philip, I will get you a copy because Philip, my partner in crime on Ghost Education 101, wants a copy of the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, here we go. I'm assuming it's since the rise of the YouTube, have you noticed unethical paranormal investigators online?
Not quite sure what you mean by that. There's a lot of unethical people out there, and you got to understand something. It's the human race. People are imperfect, and you're not always going to get folks that are doing things for the right reason. So if I noticed a lot of unethical paranormal investigators online, depends on what you mean. Have I found people out there that I thought were, in my opinion, were not doing things the way I would? Sure. But it's I'm trying to think of the best way to answer that. Certainly, the rise of YouTube has opened the door for many, many people to go out and claim they're something that they're not. That has happened, and they did it before, but the YouTube and the social media has given people more of that opportunity. The best answer to that was you just got to beware, and you got to ask questions of the person that is claiming to be a paranormal investigator or anything else. Ask them questions, find out what they're about. It may just be a disagreement in philosophies or procedure, and it may not be anything unethical at all. And then there's some out there that are just flat. I think are trying to scam folks, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, and that looks like it for the questions so far. So I'll take you to the next slide.
All righty, thank you, ma'am. Respecting your hosts. Give full disclosure of your team's standards and procedures prior to the investigation. What I mean by that is tell your host what you're going to do. We're going to come in. We're going to meet about 6:30. I'm going to brief my team. We're going to set up our cameras, and we're going to be using this type of equipment. I need, this will be the area will be our base area we're going to work out of. And that's all pretty obvious, but most importantly, and this maybe goes to the last question, make sure your host knows what you can do and don't tell them you can do something that you can't. And we're going to talk a lot more about this particular issue. If you're a team, our team, for example, I consistently tell folks that bring us in that what we do is try to figure out what's there. If there's any specific problems, I know folks that I can refer you to, but we do not do certain things. We can't do certain things. We won't do certain things. And make sure that the host knows exactly what it is you can do. And please do not tell them you can do something that you cannot guarantee. A lot of folks, and there are folks out there that can clear houses. There's a lot of folks that can cross folks back over. I'm not one of them, and I let my client know that up front. My job is to use my skills, my training, equipment, and the abilities of my team members to find out what the problem is. But don't tell them that you can clear a house or you can make this problem go away unless you really, really can. And I'm going to get a little bit ahead of myself here, but this is a really, really important issue to me. When you claim that you can pass someone over, or you can, without question, clear out the problem, and you don't, you can cause irreparable harm to your client. The issues they may be going through might be self-induced. It might be the result of what the activity is. And they're looking for help. They're looking for your help to solve this problem for them. and you tell them, yes, it's done, I've done this, and 2 weeks later, they're experiencing it again. And they may be experiencing it for different reasons, and they could be because of their own personal lives. It could be because of issues they're having. It may be you weren't able to clear out the problem, but they've expected you to do that. And when you don't, and they're already suffering a lot of emotional distress, it could make it even worse for them. And not only is that wrong because we don't want to do that to people, but we also want to make darn sure that we don't make a promise we can't keep, and then somebody gets hurt, and then there becomes a civil liability issue also, frankly. There's no insurance policy that's going to cover that one. So make sure that you tell your client, your host, what it is you can do, what it is you can't do, and how you're going to conduct yourselves during the investigation. I think ethically that's one of the most important things that we can do as paranormal researchers and investigators is be honest and upfront, because there's a lot of folks in the past that haven't been. And when we make promises we can't keep, it puts us right in that same basket. So I hope you can understand where I'm coming from. Be properly prepared to begin the investigation. And we've been there. I've had these problems too. You get there, you think everything's squared away, you got all your equipment, and you're missing something, or somebody that's got another part of the stuff that you're going to set up that isn't there yet, and you look like a chicken with head cut off type of thing, trying to run around getting everything done. That happens. But do your best to be properly prepared for the investigation. Have your stuff ready to go. Have your team understanding exactly what the protocol is. And I'm bragging, I admit, but I got the greatest team in the world as far as I'm concerned, because my guys and gals, we get to a spot and they're just spot on. No thanks to me, it's because they're just really good at it. And that's where you want to try and be. That gives your client, once again, confidence that you know what you're doing. Be respectful of your host's times and their property. Don't do things that create noise issues, disturb the neighbors. If they give you a time limitation, and we frankly get this one a lot, how late you going to be? Well, we'd like to go till at least 11 or 12. Well, can you be done by 11? Certainly. You may not like it, and you may have to leave right in the middle of when you're getting some good stuff, but respect your host. And I'll tell you a little clue to that. I always tell my clients up front, it's going to take 2 or 3 times before we can fully find out what's going on here. That way, if you have to leave early, you've hopefully got the door open to come back if things get really active just before you leave. Let them know what type of experiments, and most importantly, also don't go where your host doesn't want you to go. And you may be tempted to go in that room the door's open, but I just got to force it a little bit more because, man, it looks like some interesting stuff in there, but you were told not to go. Don't go. Respect your host. Be mindful of your host's requirements of the venue, folks. Once again, that helps your credibility, your reputation, and the rest of us also when you conduct yourselves that way. Any thoughts on that one? Anybody got any thoughts on those things?
Let me look real quick. Yep, no questions yet.
Okay. I must have them all asleep by now, huh?
They're usually quiet until the end, and then a whole bunch of questions come flooding in.
Now, we've talked a lot about the ethics of your investigating with the venue, with your host and the neighbors and things like that, and making sure your team and your guests are all safe. But we also got to think about those that we're attempting to communicate with. And, one thing we didn't talk about tonight, and I guess that's a topic for a different day, is what exactly, who are we trying to contact? But regardless, we need to respect those that we are investigating. Now, these are my opinions, folks, and there's a lot of folks out there that might have different thoughts. So please understand these are just my opinions on respecting those that we're investigating. We as a team, we don't demand, threaten, or cajole those that we're trying to communicate with. Our philosophy is that if these are the energies, the remnants, the spiritual incarnations of those that have left us before, they're not circus animals. They don't perform at our will. And I usually will tell folks, I know my friend Bill over there, if he passed on and he came back as a spirit and I demanded he come out, he'd just basically tell me to kiss off, because in this life, that's what he would do. And we need to understand that when we treat those on the other side that way, they're likely going to just say, nuts to you, I'm not coming out. They don't want to be treated like they're circus animals. They're not there to perform for us. They're not there to perform at our command. They either want to communicate with us or they don't. In fact, one of my favorite sayings is it's paranormal investigations like fishing. Sometimes they're biting, sometimes they're not. And by showing respect, carrying on a conversation, talking to them as if they're there, not just some alien creature, will probably get you a whole lot more respect and activity than if you start demanding and cajoling. So please don't do that. Treating them improperly may result in reactions also that we're not prepared for. And you got to think about that. Folks that go in there and demand and cajole and say you're a coward if you don't come out, well, they might really show you how much of a coward they are, and the results won't be real favorable for you. And there are certainly I can't get the word out. Documentation of people who have been injured on cases, scratched, bit, pushed, things like that. So when we're treating these folks not like that we would treat them in life, but as if there's some other foreign entity that we can do whatever we want, we might get a result we're not planning on, and it won't be all that pleasant.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
and just so you know, everybody is saying that they're loving it.
Oh,
so
good.
They're
So
enjoying it so far. They're not asleep.
Excellent. Well, this is a good time, folks. Once again, because we don't have any hard and fast structural rules, and I may even talk about that a little bit later, these are my opinions. And I want you to look at it like that. This is how we conduct ourselves. This is how we feel that we're most successful. You may have thoughts or ideas out there, and that's what this type of forum is about, sharing ideas and thoughts, because that's how we're going to get better. And what I will kind of go off on a sidebar for a moment here, I talked about a structure that we have in law enforcement, how we would investigate a homicide here in Vero Beach, Florida, generally the same way they would in Tacoma, Washington. That's where we need to get in the world of paranormal research and investigation. That is, in my opinion now, the only way that we're going to gain credibility in the scientific world and the general public, by conducting ourselves in such a way that we have standards and we follow those standards. And I'm not saying my standards are all the ones that should be followed. Don't misunderstand me, but we need to collectively somehow to get together and create those standards and agree to follow them with variations depending on where you live and the situation you're in, but some general standards. It can be done. I'm convinced of it. I've been trying to do that for years, and by God, I'll get there someday. That's my opinion anyway. Okay, so much for my soapbox. Other ethical issues that we face as paranormal investigators. Charging a fee for conducting an investigation. And I know that's a thought out there, and I bet you a few of you have been wondering when I was going to bring this up. First of all, the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, I didn't bring that up. That's the name of my team, Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. We do not charge for any investigation. We don't feel that that's proper or right. But why would somebody charge? Why would somebody consider charging? Well, if they're doing it as a money-making operation to feed their family, okay, you're taking your time, you're using your equipment, you're paying for the equipment, you're using your gas to get there, you're taking time away from your family. All good arguments. But it's not really what we should be about in this field, because we're helping folks. It's not a paid profession at this point. There are some teams that have talked about charging for mileage or gas just to get to and from there. There are some folks that have charged for equipment they've bought, batteries or whatever, for the investigation. There may be some reasons for it, but I submit to you, considering where we are in the field at this time, where we are still gathering evidence and we have theories of what this phenomenon is, personal beliefs. We are far from a professional type of field at this point. People are looking for us for help, and we're just trying to get them answers. In my opinion, we should not be charging for any paranormal investigation at all. We've decided to do this. We've chosen to do this. And that's just my opinion. I would be interested in hearing what other people have to say out there. So if you do have some thoughts, I'd really love you to type them in right now because I'd like to hear what you have to say. But one of the things, I'm 100% against charging clients. Yay, Bob, I'm with you, brother. I totally agree. And let's talk about the ethics part of it. Boy, but remember back in the days of Houdini when people were charging for seances and stuff to contact the dead, and Houdini actually would go out and try to debunk these folks. And you'll see them today, folks reading fortunes and taking money from folks. Until we can definitively prove what we have beyond a reasonable doubt, here comes the cop out in me again, we shouldn't be charging. We just should not be. We've chosen to get into this field because we love it, and there's some folks out there that are doing it for a thrill, and that's great. There's a lot of venues for that. But if you're going out there to truly find the answers, then that's our passion, and we're doing this to find those answers. So I'm against charging. I don't think that's ethical. I think it puts us in a light too, where you just if you can't prove it. Dawn, I totally agree. Never charge. If you got something, you just wanted to make some money out of it. We have enough problems with credibility in our field. That just does not help us. Anita, my friends and I don't charge. Yep, we are in it to settle spirits and cross things over. Good for you. We just go where we're needed when we're called. Very, very good. Our group's we do that, but our group is more of a research group too, in that we're trying to collect answers. And in the next part of our little talk, in evidence, I'm going to go into that a little bit more. But it sounds like we're all on the same page, huh, guys? I'm glad to hear that, because I think it's very, very important that we keep our credibility, our honor clean, and charging does not help that. So I'm glad we're all on the same page there. Next page, ma'am. Or is that the last one? It might be the last one. Oh, there we go. What are you promising the client? I kind of went on this soapbox a little while ago, but I'm going to reiterate it. Do not promise a service you cannot be sure you can deliver. Now, I think it was Anita a moment ago mentioned that they go and they do cleansings, and I'm sure they're doing a great job of it. I won't do that because that's not something I can guarantee can happen, and I do not want to create problems for somebody I'm trying to help. I flat tell them up front. My job is to find out if there's an issue here. If some other things need to happen, I can refer you to some people that can make that happen. Frankly, we do something very unique on our team. A dear friend of mine, he's in England, but he's a medium, and he joins us on our investigations via Skype. He can cross entities over, but I cannot, nor can the other members of my physical team here. Do not make claims that you cannot back up. Do not disappear on a client after you've made promises or assertions. Man, I've seen that a dozen times, dozens of times, where we'll go into a place, these folks are here and they told me that they were going to do this, that, and the other thing, and then I couldn't get a hold of them again. Well, it made us look like charlatans. And if you promise to follow up, please do so. Just a quick phone call. Hey, are you doing all right? It's been a couple weeks since we were there. Anything else happen? Is anything going on that we need to know? I usually will tell folks too, just a thought here, to write stuff down, just to keep a log. I'll do that before we go in, and I'll tell them to do that afterwards. But if you don't make a promise you can't keep, don't make a promise you can't back up, don't disappear on your client afterwards, okay? They're calling you in for a reason because they need you. And I became a cop because I wanted to help people that needed me. I guess that's one of the reasons I do this too. So next one, ma'am. I think that might be the last. Oh, here we go. We still got some more. Results of promises you cannot keep. Causing emotional harm to client. I've kind of jumped on that soapbox a bit. Creating a legal dilemma for you and your team. Oh, yep, your problem is solved. We've saged the house. We've cleansed the house. The spirit is gone. Terrific. 3 weeks later, I thought you told me that this problem was solved. Now this and that and the other thing is happening again, and maybe you don't call this person back. And next thing you know, they get so distraught they do something to themselves. I don't need to tell you where that can go. Not only do you not want that to happen, I believe all of you out there don't want that to happen, but it can create other legal issues for you also if you've made promises you can't keep and it's caused somebody harm. Also, it's destroying your reputation and the reputation of the paranormal research field. It's simple. Just don't promise something you cannot come through with, okay? Always be honest and upfront with your clients. I think if we do that, we're going to solve most of our problems, and people appreciate it when you tell them exactly what it is you can do and what you can't do. Because they watch TV, they see things on there, and many times they believe it. So be honest and upfront about what you can and can't do. And you may very well be able to do it. I'm certainly not suggesting that some teams don't have members that can immediately resolve those issues there. If you can, that's fine. Just be careful. If you make a promise, you better be able to keep it. Okay. Oh, okay, very good, Anita. Cool. I'd love to talk to you more about that. Are you on the road with the PD? Okay, well, final thoughts.
Sorry, changed the screen and it cleared out.
That's okay, no problem. I see Anita's also, I should dispatch here, also work with PD on occasion, so I don't know if she was maybe a fire dispatcher and does the police side, because we've got the sheriff's office does that here. They do both the the fire and the sheriff's office. Final thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, on this little part here. I just want you to know how you and your team conduct yourselves from the beginning, from the very first time you talk to your client until you do the evidence review of them. That will define you and your team. It will put a memory in that client's mind of you as an honorable, reputable organization that has done their best to help them, or just somebody that was in there to have fun. How you conduct how people see you. It may not be right, it may not be fair, but that impression you make lasts, and it affects other folks. So please think about that when you investigate, whether it be a public building or somebody's personal home. Respect, respect, respect. That is probably, and honesty are the most important things that I have to say about conducting yourself as the ethical paranormal investigator. So
I think, yep, that was the last one.
Okay, so, that should have been.
Before we move to the next one, I'm just going to, there's no other questions popping up, but I'm going to go back to, I mentioned these questions to you. They were sent to me via text.
Okay.
Philip was wondering if any of your fellow police officers thought you were nuts.
Well, people think I'm nuts anyway, even before I did this. So law enforcement's changed a lot. When I first got into it, I mentioned seeing something in the Dade County Jail, and what it was a full body apparition, nothing wispy or opaque about it. It was a person walking down a cell block, and they were gone. And nobody talked about it, but the two guys I was with checked the catwalk and found nobody there, and they just said, "Oh, Lawson, this place is haunted anyway." But you didn't really talk about it back in those days. Maybe in the squad room, little hints here and there, but you didn't talk about it. That's changed a lot now. When I retired from running the police academy in 2013, there were a lot of guys talking about it, a lot of the other officers talking about it. When I went back into full-time police work, I was a detective out in a little town called Fellsmere. The whole town talked about it, and the guys I worked with had experiences. So no, not so much anymore. There's always going to be people that look at you with that kind of screwed up look in their face saying, "What are you, nuts?" But that's going to continue to happen. But no, most of my colleagues did not think I was crazy. And when you talk about them, you should hear some of the things that's happened to them. So
okay. And Anita responded to
okay.
Follow up to hers.
But worked as a consultant. Oh, with local police. Okay, and was a new lead on a few security investigations back in the day. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, and it's funny because I think that's what causes a lot of us in this field to have experiences, because we are in the middle of very emotional, high energy situations, people dying in car wrecks, murders, death from a suicide or an overdose, emotional things. I think that's one reason why we see them. Also, the times that we're out there too. We're sometimes the only ones there, and pictures get taken. And I'm sure you've all seen pictures of the shadow coming out of a car wreck or something along those lines. I think that's one reason why folks in our field, doctors, nurses, a lot of us have had those experiences. So.
Okay, and then Michelle wants to know if you should have a bishop or a priest in your group to help for attachments.
Wow, that's a great question. I don't think that we really truly know enough about the field to make that a requirement. Many times actually, I was going to say getting a bishop or priest in your group, sometimes it would be difficult, but I'm finding more and more folks in the religious field have an understanding of this. I'm really impressed with the Catholic Church's recent discussions on the paranormal world, for example. I don't think that's an issue. That's a subject for a whole different day as far as how you protect yourself. What we do as a group, we say a prayer going in, we say a prayer going out, and we are tremendous believers in that you have dominion over your own life. So you cannot follow me. You may not come home with us. You must stay here. And we've never had a problem to this date, knock on wood. But I don't think, Michelle, that there's any definitive golden rule way to make sure that doesn't happen. We just don't know enough yet about the entire paranormal field to know whether or not that would actually help or not. Wouldn't hurt. I mean, if you've got a religious person that can attend, that would not hurt. But I don't know that that's going to be the end all to be all, my opinion.
And then another question Philip had is, did you start the paranormal before or after you retired?
Before I retired, actually. I was actually running the police academy in this region of Florida, and my older son Ryan, who you know, wanted to go to St. Augustine after watching the old Ghost Hunters show, and he wanted to go up there real bad. So I took him up there, I think for his 11th birthday, and we had an event that happened in the lighthouse in St. Augustine that changed everything. That's what got us together that's what caused us to create a group to formally investigate. But prior to that, as I said earlier, I had been teaching law enforcement officers all over the country, actually, on how to investigate cult-related crimes and issues involving religion and crime. So I was actually dealing with this back as far as the late 1980s. But as a team, the FBPI has been in business since, I think, 2011.
And did you ever work with any mediums as a police officer, such as murder cases?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because I have evolved as like maybe I'm getting older, I don't know, but there were times as a detective that I would receive calls from mediums, not only on murder cases, but on different kinds of cases. And I basically thought it was a bunch of hogwash. I'm not going to lie to you. I would get somebody calling saying the body is here or this piece of evidence there, and I would check that out because that's what we did. We had to check out every lead. They never ever came to fruition. So I had a very dim view of it early on. Then as time went on, I was still actually a cop. I was a detective it was actually before I was a detective in Fellsmere. I began to experience some things with mediums that led more credibility to what they were doing. And I came to find out that all mediums are not alike and all mediums see things differently. And how they interpret something may not make sense to you, but it does to them. And if you take enough time, often at times, to evaluate what they're saying, it can fit. But they may also be seeing something that they're interpreting too, and that interpretation might not make sense to you. Am I making myself kind of clear on that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it would be easy for me to say, oh, that's a bunch of hogwash. But in reality, what they're seeing is an interpretation of what they're seeing in their mind's eye. I wish we had time to go into it, but I've had some personal experiences with mediums that were not law enforcement related, but now I have an entirely different view of it. I believe there are people out there that are charlatans, that are absolute fakers. There are people out there that are wannabes. They think they are, and they're being as sincere as they can, but they really don't have the gift. And then there are people that truly have the gift and can communicate with the other side. So there's three levels, and my view of it now is much different. And I know of recent cases where mediums have been incredibly helpful in solving cases.
Right. Well, I know we're going to have you back because I'm writing down questions as we go, and
Okay.
that would fit for other topics than what we're doing today. But another quick question: dealing with groups, if you come across a problem that appears to be psychological with a client, as a police officer, how does your group handle that with your experience?
Okay. I was reading Karen when you were talking, so
sorry.
give me the question
I
again.
paraphrased it the best I could.
Is that the question? I'm always
Yeah.
interested in how different groups find themselves in investigation and they have problems that appear to be psychological issues with clients themselves. Having been in law enforcement and maybe having a sense of that, how does your group handle that? Okay. For starters, just to keep things clear, I'm the one that goes out and does it. And we have a questionnaire. And it can get a bit dicey, Karen, because I had a recent case where we had some folks call us out and they told us all the things that were happening. Now, Mike Maxwell, Spanky Maxwell, my lead investigator, he will attend with me a lot of times. He came with me because him being a retired firefighter, he does look at things a lot the way I do. And we sit down, we talked to these folks. They told us what was going on, and then I had to start to ask the tough questions. Was there ever anybody with any drinking problems? Well, yeah, I was for a while. And how about medical issues, drug issues? And in talking with these folks, we were able to find out that there were some other issues in there that may have contributed to what they were experiencing. The key to that is asking it in a very delicate manner. Ma'am, I hate to ask you these questions, but you need to understand, or sir, we're trying to make sure we get as much information as possible about what's going on here. So we have to ask this question. It's part of our protocol. Has there been anybody in the house that's ever had any drinking problems? We don't necessarily ask who, okay, because that can just lead to embarrassment. Nobody wants to be embarrassed. Anybody in here that's ever conducted any dark experiments, such as seances or incantations? Is there anybody here that's ever used any drugs? And people will normally tell us. And from that, we make a decision whether or not it's something to investigate. For example, we went to one place, and after talking to the folks, that we suggested they talk to their medical provider first, because of all the things that have happened to you, this may not be safe for us to do it. So I really think you should talk to your medical provider first. So it's not always what you say, it's how you say it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And you get folks to realize that they may need to look at other avenues. But yeah, happens all the time. And I think I even mentioned it to you, Heather, a little while ago. I would say about 30% of the home cases, maybe a little bit more, there are other issues in the house that we've uncovered in talking to the client first. See, talking with folks solves all kinds of issues. Getting to know them, starting a rapport with them can make you realize what sort of other issues may be going on. Because you could go into that house, we could go into a house where they're having issues like that and investigate. But because of what they're going through, we're not going to solve any problems, and we could exasperate their problems. Make sense? So that's where we're at on that. Hope I answered that question clearly enough.
You did.
Are you finding more police officers are becoming believers? Absolutely. Can I give a plug to somebody while we're talking?
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Guy named Ike Inzi, good friend of mine. He's a retired chief of police out in New Mexico. IDK Paranormal. Letter I, DK Paranormal. Got some good stuff out there. He's a great example of that. Solid guy. So if you get a chance to watch him on YouTube. But yes, to answer your question is we more do believe because we're talking about it more amongst ourselves. And one of the positive things about all the paranormal TV shows is that it has made it more mainstream. People are not as shy about talking about it as they were. So I think that's part of it too. So yes, ma'am, Michelle, yes, I think more are becoming believers, or at least more open-minded. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And then Michelle wants to know, how do you handle personality differences within the group? And she guess means as far as getting along.
Yeah. There's nobody in my team that was there when we started, except for me, and my sons are off in college, so they're not even part of it anymore. And yeah, we've had some real issues. And what you got to try and do is find people that share your philosophies and your visions. Coming up with some rules, standards of how to conduct yourself is important. For example, in our team now, we do all of our team meetings on Zoom. That was thank you to COVID, but it's now working out even better because my team's spread out all over the state. And we have simple things like, hey, we got 10 Zoom meetings a year. You got to make at least 6 of them. We've got 2 training meetings a year that you have to attend. You got to attend at least one of them. Guys, that's got to be the rules so we can stay current, everybody together. And just over time, the group we've got now, we've been together for 3 or 4 years, this same group. Tight. We are tight. We're friends. We're family. We are looking we view this the same way. We have the same set of standards and beliefs, and that helps. Now, once you do have some conflict, this is just me as the police academy director and cop. I just hit him straight on. Joe, you're having problems with Bill. I need you 2 to talk it out. And if you can't, come back and see me and I'll handle it. But let's get this straightened out. We're all adults here. And that's kind of how I do it. And it's worked pretty well. We're all volunteers. You can't order somebody to do something. You can't make them do something. But you try to say, look, we're all in this together, guys. You need to handle this. And right now, we've had the same group for, like I said, 3 or 4 years, and we are tight. And that's why I said I got the best group out there. No offense to everybody else. I'm just proud of them. So
I can't wait to work with your team. I'm looking forward to that.
I think you'll like them. It's funny because we've even got the local historical society on our side. One of my top guys is the vice president of the historical society. But once again, it's because how we conduct ourselves and how people look at us and they trust us. Trust is everything, guys. Trust. Oh, I saw a question come up there. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you can answer this, and if you can't, I have resources to help Jill.
Oh boy. Get rid of it. There's once again a whole different topic. No good can come of Ouija, and that's my opinion, folks. That's just my opinion, but no good can come from them. And there's lots of reasons why I feel that way. Death certificate says undisclosed.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, Jill, if you want to try to find me, I'm at Dr. Heather Lee on Facebook, and message me. I am a board director or a regional director for the Warren Foundation, and we can help you with that if you need help getting rid of it.
Yeah. You're right. You do. Yeah, I know exactly what you're going to do with it. So that's great. I'm more the cop in me is going on right now, wondering why it disclosed. That's interesting to me. But good luck.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck.
Well, I think we are all caught up on questions. So if you want to start the next presentation, I can pull it up.
Let's do it. Oh, let's do it. This one's a little shorter, but it's called Proof the Paranormal Exists, Collecting, Documenting, and Preserving Evidence of the Paranormal. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be talking to you like a cop, because in our business, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. And there's more to this philosophy, too. If you want to go to the next slide, Heather, this will make a little bit more sense. Once again, why do we investigate? What's our whole purpose for doing this? Are we doing it for personal reasons? And I know we've all talked to folks who may be fascinated by the field because they met somebody passed that it has really affected them, and they want to know that they're okay, that if they're still with us, that they can still communicate with us. There are folks out here there that do it for entertainment. Now, before you get upset with me on this, need to understand where I'm coming from. I call these folks the paranormal thrill seekers. I wrote an article on this, and if anybody's interested, be happy to send it to you. The paranormal thrill seeker is somebody that likes the rush and the excitement of going out on a Friday night and getting that EVP, maybe seeing a shadow person, maybe seeing something move, maybe even seeing the holy grail of the business, and that's the full body apparition. But they have no interest in keeping the evidence. They have no desire to hold on to that EVP. They like it, they believe it, but they're having fun with it. And I kind of equate that to a person that skydives. My personal thought is, why in the world would I jump out of a perfectly good airplane? Makes no sense to me. But some folks enjoy doing that. There is nothing wrong with somebody who's a paranormal thrill seeker. In fact, many folks that have become serious researchers started off being paranormal thrill seekers. So there's nothing wrong with it. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. But if that's why you're investigating, then evidence really isn't something that's going to be vital to what you're doing. You're seeing it then, you're experiencing then, and you're moving on. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're doing it for research, and that's kind of the venue that our team is we're trying to find the answers. And while I have my personal beliefs as to what the paranormal phenomenon is, we still don't know. And we don't. And I will stand by this. Anybody that tells you they know exactly what's going on are either fooling you, themselves, or both, because we don't know all the answers yet. And that's why the research is so important. I was a detective, folks. To me, this is the greatest mystery of all time. What is the answer? And the only way we're going to find the answer to this question is by collecting evidence, preserving the evidence, analyzing the evidence, and keeping it safe. So it's very, very, very important. Next slide. Why do we document? And this is it. This is what I'm all about. Record keeping. We need to keep records of what happened. We need to save those EVPs, those photographs, so that we can analyze them with past investigations. For example, and we started a group that we're still trying to get going. It's called the International Bureau of Paranormal Investigation and Research, and it was meant to be a collection spot so that folks could put their data in and everybody would have access to it, so that we collect certain pieces of evidence, and it's in a file, it's in a safe spot, and that way we can analyze future investigations against it and find out if there are any commonalities. Do we get more activity on a full moon? Is there more activity on a Thursday night? Is it better in the winter or the summer? All these things begin to give us data, if that makes sense, in order to find out what might be happening, putting the pieces of that puzzle together. We're looking for common similarities in investigations. And in law enforcement, folks, and that's the way we look at it on our team, the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. Now, that's unfortunate sometimes, because we all know before we get the camera rolling, before we turn the recorder on, something happens. And that's a great personal experience, but you can't prove a thing with it. This is kind of a pipe dream for me, and I realize that. But my goal is to collect and get enough evidence and do enough analysis of this evidence so that I can someday take the evidence of the paranormal and prove it before a jury of my peers. That's kind of putting it in a nutshell for me. Proper methods of conducting experiments are very, very important. Where possible, and this is, boy, especially if you're using mediums, this is tough. The use of the scientific method, having certain controls in place and protections in place so that your evidence is collected in a clean, unmolested manner. But definitely put proper controls in place when you're conducting an investigation. For example, and we're going to talk about it more in just a second. In fact, if you want to go to the next slide, Heather, I think it's probably there. Properly maintaining your equipment, making sure it's working, and being versed on how to use it is very important. Go ahead and go to the next one. Hopefully it'll be on this next slide. I think it is. What are we documenting? Yeah. Sounds and visual evidence. In fact, whenever we conduct an experiment, we enjoy using dowsing rods, and we've had a lot of success with them in conjunction with some of our other equipment. We videotape every rod session, every one, so that we've got it both an audio and visual record of it, so that there can be no mistake of it. We also document and keep all weather and solar conditions. Is paranormal evidence more likely to occur during high times of solar energy or times of less solar energy? Raining or not raining? Other outside influences, such as where you're at, are you indoors or you're outdoor? And certainly we document all participants. Everybody's got to have their name down on a piece of paper. It's like a crime scene, you see. Whenever there's a crime scene and you walk into that perimeter of the crime scene, there's a log and your name goes on that log. No difference here. So we write down everybody that's part of the investigation, whether they're a guest or a participant. Would love to talk to you sometime about how we do that and what our philosophies are. So maybe we could do that in another show also. Go ahead. Next one. How do we document? Writing in a log. We just talked about that a second ago. We wrote everything down. And we keep books. We actually have, and I don't think Spanky's got them right now, but we actually have a log book. How we conduct our investigations is we usually break up into 2 or 3 teams, depending on how many folks show up. And each team has a logbook. And there's one person assigned to that team that writes everything down. When we do another protocol we do during spirit box sessions is one person asking the questions, and we have an order that they're done in, and those questions are written down so that we know exactly who said what when they said it, and all that goes into the file for the case. Obviously, as I said before, we video and audio tape all events, such as a rod session, a spirit box session. There's got to be evidence of it. There is I know some of you guys are going to shoot me for this. The DR60, that famous Panasonic recorder, that I've heard it. It does pick up some crazy stuff. We don't use it. Why? Because you can't record. You can't keep the recording. There's no way to put it onto a computer and to save it. The only thing you can do is take the DR60 and play it into another recorder, and then you've got an issue of evidence that's not that's not unsullied. You're going from to 2 boxes, and you just can't be sure of any other interference. So I don't even like the DR60 for that reason. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but we don't use them. Use of specialized equipment, and one of my favorites, and I hope I don't get in trouble for mentioning them, but EDI Plus, they're out of Texas. Wow, I love that machine. It's if you haven't used it, the EDI Plus, it records vibration, it records temperature, it records EMF, it records barometric pressure, and it records humidity. And you put an SD card in it, and you set it up, and as long as you hit record, and it records it the whole night. Take the SD card out, put it into the computer, it runs a graph, and at all points during the time that it's running, you can tell if you've had a spike in EMF, if there's a vibration, humidity. Those types of things are all vitally important because it again shows us when activity is taking place. The EDI we may investigate a particular spot where there are 3 times, and each time at a certain time, the humidity goes up, the barometric pressure drops, there's a vibration. All this is recorded. All of that's important. And if you don't keep this information, it's not going to do anybody any good. And that's my whole mantra here. If we don't collect and preserve this evidence, then what good is it in proving anything? Make sense? My opinion. Go to the next one, please. Well, how do we analyze the evidence? We split the duties. That's one thing we're trying to do, and it's tough because a lot of the folks, and I was one of them until not too long ago, we all had grown-up jobs we had to go to. So who's got time for a lot of this stuff? Well, we try to split up the duties and have some folks watch some of the videos or some of the audio. And we have to do, as it says right there, examine the full audio or video examples. I will tell you this, and this is a good time to bring this up. Our protocol, our philosophy is EVP sessions, no more than 2 minutes. 2 reasons for that. If you're asking questions in the EVP session and you run it for 40 minutes, and then you can't listen to it right then, you don't listen to it till the next day, and you've asked a question that got an answer, but you couldn't follow up because you haven't heard it. Why? Because the tape was too long and you didn't listen to it till the next day. Our protocol is no more than 2 minutes. We listen to it right away, and we can respond to anything we have on the recorder at that point in time. It also makes it much easier to find out if there's anything on there and document it and keep it to know that we have something. Use of filters, apps during the review. Some folks like to do that, and we do some of that with our voices, but you got to be very, very careful. And once again, this is the cop in me. When you start using a lot of outside influence to filter and to sort out noises, it can be argued that that is tampered with the original evidence. Tough call. We do use some of those things, and they've been very, very helpful. But just be careful of it. I'm not a big fan of phone apps. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm just not a big fan of the phone apps. Use of experts for a second opinion. Photography is probably one of the biggest areas there. We had a great picture we got a few years ago, and I had the photograph examined. I actually had the iPhone it was taken on examined also, and got a second opinion on it. Now, they wouldn't say it was a ghost, but they said that those 2 pictures were taken, and there was no monkey business or anything wrong with the any tampering with the phone. So therefore, it gave us some credibility on that photograph. So using experts that are outside the field can be very helpful, both in audio or video. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
We have a couple questions.
Yes, ma'am.
What audio program do you use for EVPs?
What I'm using is Audacity. One of my other guys uses something else, and it's escaping me right now, but Audacity is what I've used.
Okay. And then Philip wants to know if you use a DVR.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we sure do. We've got right now we're only using 4 cameras because it makes it easier to watch. But they're super helpful because I've got one guy on the team that does he doesn't go with one of the squads. He goes in between the squads and he films. And then we've got the static cameras or the DVR in strategic spots. And usually it's the boss. It's tough when you're the boss, but I have to sit there and I watch the cameras. And so we've got both those things going at the same time.
Okay.
And where do we put all of this stuff? That's where we're going to next. How do we preserve the evidence that we find? Case files. We actually have a paper file where I'll put like the list of who's been there at night, the weather condition, all that stuff in there. But we also put it into the computer. What I'll do, and this is just how we do it because we found it works best for us. I'm watching the DVR, and I got my computer set up in front of me. We finish a rotation. Each team comes back, fills me in what they got. I'll type in, what their experiences were. Then we have everybody download whatever audio or videotapes they might have into the computer. Now, a lot of the video goes with my guy who's the photographer, and he downloads it and reviews it. But then we put it into the cloud, and I also have an external drive that I put it in. I'll plug it into my computer and download it, and then I lock it up. Why do I lock it up? Do I think somebody's going to steal all of my secret evidence? Not really, but it's the cop in me. And it has to do with chain of custody, a little term we use in law enforcement called chain of custody. And that's when you pick the evidence up at the crime scene, you take it to the lab to analyze it, and you put it into the evidence vault, and anytime anybody takes it out, looks at it, it's got to be signed for. And that's done so that when we go to court, we can prove to the court that nobody has tampered with the evidence. That's how we look at this evidence too. We've got, and I don't know that we'll ever really fix it, but people always say, oh, you faked it. Oh, you did this. Oh, you did that. I realize that we're not going to stop those things from happening, but what I do want to be able to say is, nope, we got this evidence, and then we took these steps to preserve it, and This is where it's at. This is who's got it. This is who's looked at it, and document it that way. I'm a big believer in that. So we use external drives as well as the cloud to store it. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Philip wants to know if you have mics on your DVR cameras.
They do pick up sound, but they don't do as well as I would like them to do. And there's also another question on DVRs. Do you use wired, wire connection, or do you use wireless? That's a tough one. And as much as I hate to say it, I would like to say that every one of our DVRs are hardwired. They're not. And it's simply because of conveniences, I guess. It's a horrible way to put it, but I can't think of a better word. It's too difficult to run wire everywhere. So a lot of times we will use wireless ones, but that does leave us open to criticism that if you get something on it, did something interfere with the wireless transmission? So that's a tough one. But most of the time where we have our cameras, just to tell you, we have a recorder going also. So if there's something audio in there, we're able to get it up on that. Okay, making sure your evidence is safe and secure. Accusations of being tampered with, I talked about that for a second. Maintain your documentation for analysis and comparison. Once again, folks, if we don't keep this stuff, if it just goes off into the Netherlands, what have we accomplished? And this is just how I look at it as somebody that wants to find out what the answers are. If we don't keep it and we don't use it to analyze, we don't use it to compare to other cases, then what have we accomplished? Why are we out there? Why are we doing what we're doing? Are we just doing it for fun, or are we trying to find the answers? And this is just Larry Lawson talking. I don't want to impose my view on anybody else. But if it's not documented, it didn't happen. If you don't have it written down, if you don't have it preserved, you can never say it absolutely happened. It did. I mean, but documentation is everything. Go ahead to the next one.
That was it.
That was it. Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
okay.
that was it.
Wow. Okay. So sorry. Well, I was getting into it quite a bit there. Guys, like I said, this is Larry Lawson's opinion. This is how we do things. There's many different ways out there. Would love to, and that's one thing I like about these forums. I would love to talk to more folks about what they're doing. The program we were setting up, the IBPIR, which Heather was a part of and is a part of, it's still active. We're just, we didn't get quite the response we were hoping. But these types of forums, those types of organizations are not put together for anybody to say this is the way it has to be. It's so all of us can get together and come up with best practices and take those best practices, codify them, and get us into a more streamlined investigative style so that everybody's doing it the same way and the evidence can be looked at more credibly. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's my opinion, and I know a lot of folks don't share that. A lot of folks say, well, I do it my way and I'm not going to change. Well, I'm not asking anybody to change. I'm just saying let's come up with a standard so that when Heather, you're doing an investigation out there in Las Vegas and I'm doing an investigation here, we can compare our procedures and they're markedly the same. Not exact, but they're markedly the same. And we happen to get the same kind of evidence doing it generally the same way. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's significant. Now we've got something we compare. Now we can put our finger on something, saying this is evidence. This is something we it's tangible. Oh, mm-hmm. I'm still on my soapbox with that. Sorry.
You're fine. And there were some questions. If you ever do relaunch or pursue the International Bureau of Paranormal Investigations again, let us know, and we'll make sure to share to our followers because a lot of people said that they would be interested in doing that. Okay, well, it's still out there. We just I'm going to be blunt. Our field is full of people that I'm not going to be told what to do. My way is the only way. And they're not willing to talk, share, or even consider using other ideas so that we can come up with one system.
and I say system, people always say, well, you can't take this field and put it into one small basket. I realize that, but we just got to come up with some standards, guys. Training and collection, that type of thing. But yes, I'll do that.
Okay, and then where'd it go? Oh, there you go.
Ooh, great question. Because I'm technically inept, generally speaking, I find a camcorder easier to use. I've got a really nice one that's got a terrific night vision on it and a great microphone on it. So that's what I use. My camera guy that normally is with us on our team, he and his wife are on our team, he uses a big camcorder. But GoPros can be pretty good, especially if you're walking and you need your hands free. So you put the GoPro up here on your chest. I just prefer using a camcorder, but I've got nothing against the GoPro. I think they both can work real well.
Okay.
Ever really scared him? Oh yeah, I mean I've been startled. I can't scared. No, I that's a tough question because no, I've never gone run, dude, run. Remember that from the old Ghost Hunters. I can't say that I've had some stuff that really had made me feel uncomfortable. I've had some people scratched before that worried me. I've had plenty of doors open in front of me. But I think the only thing that would really scare me, and this is if I was asleep and I opened up my eyes and something was staring me in the face. I think that would scare the willies out of me. But I've not had an event yet that has, all kidding aside, that has unnerved me to the point where I would say I was really scared. Shook, yeah, I've had some of those, but not really scared. I don't.
Okay.
Great. Real similar to what you see on TV, I guess. We sit down, we bring my trusty laptop. How do you present your findings to the client is the question. And we bring any evidence that we have on that, whether it be video or audio, and show that to them. I'm really kind of surprised at how many clients. Let me back up a little bit. Well, this is our philosophy also. If I was going to investigate Heather's house, for example, and this does fly in the face of how many other people feel, I want Heather there with me for a couple reasons. Liability is one of them, but also because what's happening to them probably is the result of them being there. So usually there's somebody with the property that's with us, and they experience what we experience at the same time. And because of that, I'm surprised how many folks, oh no, we've got it. No, we saw everything that happened, and we haven't done the typical reveal like we would normally do because folks have already been there. But when we do it, we sit down just like Jason Grant did, I guess. Sit down with the computer and just show it to them and explain to them and go over that. Sometimes we'll have some hard copy photographs that we'll share too.
Okay. And I know it's something that my team does, but do you guys leave hard copy evidence and copies of your photo and audio evidence with the client?
Oh, we give a written report. Yeah, we give a written report. Yeah.
Because I know I get that question a lot from people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I wear a body cam? No, I don't. And mostly my job at investigations is to kind of well, I've got Spanky's my field boss. He's the guy that sets the teams up. I sit there at the base and I watch the cameras. I will a lot of times I'll be the one using the SLS camera that will go to spots. So I don't really have that opportunity to wear a body cam. I've had team members that have worn body cams before. Certainly do think there's a place for them. I personally don't, because that really isn't what I'm doing a lot of times.
And I know we don't have them right now, but the last team I was on, we used body cams just for liability purposes for us. We had them running before we walked in the door, and we let the client know, hey, our body cams are running, just so you know.
That's a really good, I like that idea. So I like that. We may start looking into that one. So that's a good idea.
What's a good EVP recorder to use?
Wow, that's a huge debate. We've got a couple nice ones on the team, but our phones work pretty darn good too. I'll be honest with you. Um, I have a Panasonic and a Sony that I use. I don't remember the numbers. I got them in the equipment room right now. Um, but a lot of folks have used their phones. Now, that's a whole nother question on phones, whether you should have your phones on or not in there. Um, so that's a tough one. But we have used our phones and gotten some really good EVPs off of them. But Spanky just got a brand new one that's really nice, and I can't think of the name of it. But I use just a regular Panasonic and Sony myself. Like I said, a lot of folks like that DR60, and it does work. I've personally heard some of the things that came off of it, but I won't use it because you can't memorialize the evidence. It just doesn't save the recordings, and I just don't like that.
Okay, and so far that's it for questions, but if you guys still have questions, we still have about 30 minutes. So I guess my question for you is, do you want to share any of your experiences that you've had?
Oh, wow. Sure. I'm just trying to think of where to start. Some of the really recent ones, probably one of the coolest things that just happened to us recently was I do historical tours too, that in areas where we've done investigations, and I got asked to do one in downtown Vero. Do you know where the women's club is on 21st? Do you remember that at all? Okay.
Yep.
Built in 1914, something like that, as the library, and housed the women's club of Vero Beach, and it's been there since then. It's still the headquarters of the women's club, and they wanted us to do an event for them, and I said, well, that's fine, but I've got to really investigate the building. I just am not good. If there's nothing there, I can say it, but I at least want to say that we investigated it. And never been any indication that there's any paranormal activity in there at all. And you guys are going to be the first ones to hear this story, by the way, so no charge for this, okay? So we get in there, no problem. We set up. There's a couple of representatives from the women's club there because we prefer to do that. And we start investigating. Now, this is one of the first times my buddy Chris Huff over in England, Spirit Northeast, you'll see some of his videos out there, really, really good guy. And he's a medium, and he's a very good medium. And I'll tell you another story about him in just a second. But he would come on. He comes on Skype, and what we do is I wear headphones, so nobody can hear him, and we do a walkthrough of the venue at first, and he stays for a while afterwards, and he walks through the building, and he says, Larry, there's a guy in the bathroom, and he likes to hang out in there, and it's the women's bathroom, and he likes to watch. I'm just telling you that's going on. And there's also kids running all over this place. And it was a library, including a children's library back in the day. And he's telling me all this stuff. And I'm saying, okay, now nobody can hear this, and I'm not announcing it. Come to find out later that I got one team in the women's bathroom that are getting dowsing rod hits and voice boxes on. There's a guy in the bathroom watching. They had no idea that was going on, but Chris hit it spot on. We even got a shadow underneath. You could see underneath the bathroom door from the meeting hall, and you could see something when nobody was in there, something moving underneath in the light underneath the door at one point. So that was pretty great. Then one of my team members says, Larry, there is an energy, something that's just running around all over this place, and I don't know what it is. And it just seems small, short, close to the floor, which would have been kids. Chris hit on that one right spot on. But probably the best part of the whole night, and I'm actually taping this. I got Chris on, and I'm holding my laptop in front of me, so he's looking in front, and I'm coming to a door right next to where the women's bathroom was, and it goes into the hallway. The door just opens for me, and I thought it was Spanky playing a joke on me like he does on occasion. And I walk out, and I see the two ladies from the representatives from the women's club just looking there staring at me, and I said, who just opened the door? Nobody. Somebody just opened it. Nobody. The look on their face was worth $1 million. Getting back to Chris, Ryan and I were over in England visiting him 2019, just before COVID all hit. And we had some pretty interesting experiences there. But Chris is an expert on World War II RAF airfields, haunted airfields, that is. So he took us to RAF Elvington, which is in the Yorkshire area of England, and we were in a quasit hunt. And folks, this is where historical research, and we didn't really even talk about that tonight. Historical research is vital to our business. We're not talking to anybody that's currently here now. We're talking to those that are in the past. So understanding and embracing history is vital to what we do. So we're in this quasit hunt, and this quasit hunt was dedicated to a fighter squadron that was at Elvington during the Battle of Britain, 609 Squadron. And we're just going through there, and we got the spirit box going, and Chris asks, "Is there anybody here with us?" And you know that crazy sound, and you hear Fury. And okay, we all heard it. Ryan and we all heard it. Okay, what rank were you? What rank were you? Sergeant. Okay, and that's all we got. We did some historical research. Actually, I give the credit to Chris. He's the one that found it. Sergeant Alan Fury, 609 Squadron. 5 kills during the Battle of Britain. We found his gravestone, the date of his death during the Battle of Britain after he flew out of Elvington. Wow. If there was ever something that really hit home, and we heard his name, Fury. There wasn't anybody it was coming out of the spirit box, right? Mm-hmm. Fury. What rank? Sergeant. And then we find his. I've even on my cell phone, I've even got his history. I found out read how he died, and I think it was October of 1940. Wow. And being a history buff like I am, especially in aviation, that really hit home with me. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you asked a question about mediums before. That really was one of them. I mean, that just came through. Chris was just really, even though that really wasn't a medium event, the mere fact that he was there, I think, actually helped quite a bit with that. Another great one was Fellsmere. If you folks ever come to Florida, I'm going to take you to Fellsmere because that town had some of the most unbelievable things happen to us there. That's the Marsh Landing restaurant is the one place where I have seen 2 full-bodied apparitions. Only 3 in my whole life. One was in the Dade County Jail. The other 2 were in the Marsh Landing restaurant. We got a picture of what we call the Purple Lady in there. And the lady I think I mentioned it before, took a picture. It was nothing. 2 seconds later, she snapped the iPhone 5 again, and there's this lady in a purple-like dress. About a year later, we had another event going on there, and I saw a guy taking a photograph in the same spot where the Purple Lady was standing. I thought it was one of the folks that were with me on the tour. And she's just wearing white, though, and she's kind of like, back and forth on her feet like this, just going back and forth. And I turned to the guy taking the picture. Are you taking a practice shot or a comparison shot? What are you talking about? Are you taking a comparison shot? Of who? Of the lady that's standing there. And we looked up, and I looked up, she was gone. And he said, "There's no lady there." And his wife was standing next to me, and she said, "Larry, everybody's back in the bar area." And there was a woman standing there in white, clear as a bell, saw the picture, and she was gone. Probably about 6-8 months later, and we're in the same building, and I just see this big, tall, lean guy. And if this part of Florida, a lot of cows, a lot of cowboys, a lot of cattle, and I just saw a big, tall, lanky guy, looked like a cowboy, walk from one wall to the other and disappear into the other. Just some of the amazing things that we've had happen in the Marsh Landing restaurant. I mean, I could go on, but I don't want to bore you. So
we have some more questions. So if we don't have enough questions, then we'll go on to more stories.
Okay. Do you use the voice memo? That's great you mentioned that. And the one cool thing about the paranormal, folks, is you're always got to try things to see how they work. Yes, we did. And that's worked out real well. Now, if you're talking about the recorder on the phone, that's the one most folks use. We've also tried to keep notes that way. That's not such a good idea. We have come up with a new protocol, though, that you can't. We don't want to tell you can't bring your phone in, but you've got to have it on airplane mode or off the internet. You can't bring it in there with it. And that's the only way we use our phones now, because we're just trying to figure out a better way to do it. But yeah, we do use the voice memo.
Okay.
EDI Plus, without question. I mentioned that before. I love that piece of equipment because it records everything. It records vibration, EMF, humidity, temperature, dew point, I mean, everything. And you can put it in your computer and you've got it. You can't even make a mistake by writing it down wrong. I mean, it's on that SD card. So without question, the EDI Plus is my favorite. Yes, and I don't like them. This is once again my opinion. There are some people that swear by them, and here's my issue with them. And the question is, have I ever used an Echovox or an Ovilus? I don't like them because they've got a word base in them, and in my opinion, if the word's already in there and they came out, it's tainted. There are some folks that swear by it. Excuse me for a second. That swear by it, but I just have an issue with them. I'm open to being proven wrong, and I'll tell you why, Paul. It had to do with what I think now is one of the most important pieces of evidence. That's a spirit box or portal. I originally thought those things just too much can be tampered with. And it was in Fellsmere once again. We had a group come up from West Palm, and they had a portal, and we were sitting in what we call the old choir room in there, and we were asking questions about, how many are in here, and it gave an answer, and they were somewhat correct. And I'm kind of shortening this story a little bit, but I thought I'd be a smart aleck and say, okay, tell me where we're at. Now, Fellsmere's a small town, folks. Nobody knows where Fellsmere is. Nobody. I said, where are we at right now? And the portal goes, Fellsmere. Okay. If it said Orlando, West Palm, or Melbourne, or something, it would have made sense because it's just a radio station. But Fellsmere? So I waited a couple more minutes, and I said, where'd you say we were again? Portal said, Fellsmere. So then I began doing more research, which we all should be doing when we're into the world of instrumental transcommunication. And I now feel that's the one place where we're going to make our breakthrough is through ITC, EVPs, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But getting back to the Echovox and Ovilus, I have yet to be proven that these things are not just spitting out words that are already in their bank. And that's the problem I have with them. The words are in the bank.
Yeah, I know for the Ovilus, I'm torn because one of our team members had one, so he gave it to me to test out, and we were on an investigation, and all of a sudden, death, demon, and sacrifice came across the Ovilus. So I had said, "Who are you going to sacrifice?" And I got you. At the same time, something scratched me from the back of my neck down to my lower back. So that's why I'm torn and it was one of those things where it's like, okay. Was the box just spitting out words, or was it really communicating?
Well, and that's why we got to keep our mind open. Look, somebody asked earlier what I thought about mediums in law enforcement. I had to have my mind open a little bit, and that's where we've got to be willing to do that. I'm willing to be proven wrong in my opinion on the Ovilus. What you experienced, that would certainly changed my mind somewhat. What happened to me with the portal in Fellsmere actually changed how I viewed spirit boxes, and this is several years ago now. Mm-hmm. So we got to keep an open mind. Look, folks, if there's one thing I learned as a cop, it's that anything is possible. My favorite line is every time I thought I'd seen the lowest denominator in human life, somebody would manage to show me there's another lower level. Mm-hmm. We've got to keep our minds open. We don't know what that world is out there yet. We have opinions, we have thoughts, we have personal beliefs, but we don't yet have definitive evidence. So if we close our mind off to the possibilities, then we're never going to find out what it really is. So I'm willing to have my mind changed on it. So
yeah, I need to buy one because I want to test it out a little bit more for myself, just to see if it's And then Philip wanted to know, I don't know of one, but do you know if there's an Ovilus app?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he said
Yeah.
there is an Ovilus app. Sorry, I read it wrong, Philip. I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's an Ovilus app on a phone, I am not a big phone app guy at all, because you're using a piece of equipment that's designed for something totally different, and somebody's creating, and this is once again my opinion, there's some people that love the apps. We will not. I've had to tell I've actually put an edict out to the team. You want to use an app, that's fine on your own things, but when we're doing an official investigation, phone apps are not allowed, because once again, you're using your phone. And we're trying not to do that because of the other issues that are going on with it. So I'm not a big phone app guy at all.
Yeah. He responded that he wouldn't use it.
Oh, okay, good. I like him.
Yeah. Philip's my partner in crime on here, so he's good.
Okay.
So, and we're caught up on questions. Anything else you want to share? We still have some time.
Well, I think if I had to say anything, I would like to encourage everybody to consider how we conduct our business, how our conducting business affects others in the field. Keep that in mind. Consider keeping your evidence, using it to examine over a period of time, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, comparing your evidence in different investigations, finding out what commonalities, what similarities are in those pieces of evidence, and that could lead you to maybe some answers or some direction where to find some answers. Also, consider coming up with a set of standards that you're willing to share with others, and talk about maybe coming up with best practices. I truly feel that if we can do that in the field of paranormal research and investigation, we are going to take ourselves to the next level. I truly believe that. Other than that, go forth and be careful, because this is, not knowing exactly what this is, Heather, too. We don't know what trouble we can get ourselves into.
Right. Yeah.
And even Chris, who I find, in my opinion, is probably one of the best mediums I've ever seen, he'll even tell you, we don't know the answers yet. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's my goal with this field, is finding a scientific standard.
Yes, and that's where I'm going with it. The problem is, how can you find a scientific standard, especially with folks that have the gift of mediumship?
Right.
There isn't one yet.
Yeah.
Now, but that's something that does bug me. People say, "Oh, you can't, you never will." Well, don't tell me that, because there's got to be a way. And if we just give up and say you can't do it, then we're never going to get anywhere. And then we're all going to be paranormal thrill seekers. And once again, nothing wrong with that. But if you've gotten to the point where you're just another EVP, the fun's gone. Let's find out what's causing this. If anybody has any thoughts they'd like to share with me, Heather's going to give you my email.
Yeah.
You can check us also.
I posted your bio with your email on our page, Ghost Education 101. For those of you that are watching on Pun TV, you can go over to Ghost Ed to get that information. And I shared your team's Facebook page. And then
great.
I also shared your website. And that's in the chat comments on both Paranormal United Network and Ghost Ed.
Dynamite, yeah. So please reach out, and I'm open to, if you've got some better ideas, other thoughts, share them with me. I'm always, nobody's got the exact answers on everything. So share. Let's talk. Are you a user of Sage? We do use Sage, Michelle, but here is once again my opinion. People sometimes use Sage like they would, I don't know, deodorant. They just spray it around. I think that it's got to be done with the right attitude. I think it's got to be done with the right frame of mind. I do believe that people sometimes will use Sage just kind of as a catch-all, and it can sometimes actually stir stuff up if you're not using it right. And I'm sure you are. But we have used Sage, but we have somebody who is proficient at the proper way of using Sage with proper prayers and whatnot. So,
yeah, and other things that to jump off of that, Michelle, is you can use Cascaria, which is an eggshell powder as protection if you do it the right way. And if any of you guys have any questions on how to use that, or even Palo Santo works just as well, just reach out to me and I can help you with that.
Holy water.
Yep.
Holy water. And a little bit of holy salt. There we go. So, what we'll use different things. Just be careful and don't just automatically think, and I'm sure you don't, Michelle, but I'm letting folks know, just don't use sage willy-nilly and just think it's the catch-all. Proper frame of mind, proper reverence, I think is important with the use of that.
Yeah, it's all about intention.
Exactly. Have we encountered any poltergeist activity? Not to the extent that you'd see on TV, but I don't think a whole lot of people actually have. But yes, we have, with just things opening and closing and moving. But the answer is yes.
Okay. Oh, I hit something on accident. Hold on.
Oh.
Yeah, that was just a comment in the chats about smudging and different methods on that. So thank you, Anita, for the tip on that one. The one thing I do want to touch base on is, I know you say you said you do tours.
Yes.
If anybody's coming to Florida, or anybody who lives in the Florida area, let them know where your tours are at.
Oh, well, right now we're doing them we're doing them on the beach and they're historical tours. What I do is we talk about the history of the area, as well as what we've encountered or what other people have encountered in the paranormal. So it's a mixture of the two, but it's definitely a historical ghost tour. And we do them on the beach in Vero. We do them downtown in Vero and Sebastian. And we're going to be hopefully getting back out to Fellsmere, which got closed down because of COVID and a few other things out there. But I'm hoping to be back out in Fellsmere in September.
Okay,
so
that's actually when I'll be back in Florida, so I'll be able to enjoy that one.
yeah, and they're not, they're truly meant to teach folks not only about the history but a little bit about the paranormal. They're not jump scare things at all.
Yeah. Okay. So. Perfect. And then another question I have is, have you ever investigated the driftwood?
Yes, many times.
I figured you had.
Oh, you kidding? Yes, I actually would stay in Waldo's room. I didn't do it last year because of COVID, and the year before, unfortunately, I was ill and in the hospital and couldn't. But I would, in January, rent Waldo Sexton's room. Waldo Sexton is the guy that put Vero Beach on the map, folks. I know you probably don't even know where Vero is, but he's pretty a gregarious type of entrepreneur that really, very colorful guy. And yes, the driftwood itself, Heather, is tough to investigate because the bar there is usually going till 2 a.m. And it's really, really tough. But we've had I had an experience during a tour about 3 weeks ago. At the end of the tour, we were sitting in, the breezeway that goes from out to the beach. Okay. I'm sitting there, and some of my guests are down on the beach with some of my equipment, just kind of playing around. I let the folks do that at the end of the tour. And I'm just sitting there. I'm looking at some of my emails that have been coming in. And right behind me to the left, I hear a woman crying. And I don't mean just a quick boo-hoo. I mean sobbing. So much so that I turn around and look. Nobody's there. I get up and I look around. Nobody's there. That just happened a couple weeks ago. Waldo was also seen in his room by a guy that was cleaning. They were going up to fix the floor, and he didn't expect to see anybody, and he called the front desk on the radio. I thought you said nobody was in the room. There's not. The room's empty. Now I'm looking at a guy sitting in the chair, and he described Waldo Sexton. So stuff's always happening at the Driftwood. That's another. We could spend 20 minutes just talking about.
Yeah, that's one place I never got to when I lived there. I lived there all these years, and I never got there as an investigator.
That area is very active. We've got a lot of shipwrecks off the beach. The treasure fleet of 1715 went down out there, and that causes us a lot of interesting things. So come on out. Anybody that can come down to Florida, wherever you're at, come on down to Vero Beach, and I'll make this one-time offer for anybody that's listening tonight. You can come as my guest. So I live close to Gettysburg. Oh my gosh. I wish I had the picture, Leslie, of some friends of mine took in Gettysburg. It was at the high water mark. Yes, I've been there, by the way. It's a couple of times, and it's the greatest picture I've ever seen in Gettysburg. It's a misty picture of three people walking off the field, like they're carrying him on his shoulders, and everybody saw that cool picture, and everybody thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. What they didn't notice is down to the right of the monument, small figure like this, all wispy, and he's saluting. It was unbelievable photograph, and I know the people that took it, so I'll absolutely vouch for the veracity of it. Yes, Leslie, I love Gettysburg.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite places, and I've had two of my best experiences there. The one I was at Devil's Den, and
Okay.
I think it was just before 4th of July weekend, so there was a lot of reenactments going on, and this guy passed me, full uniform, tipped his hat as he walked by, and kept going. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get a photo of this guy. And when I went to go catch up to him, because he had turned around the rock, he was gone. And there was nobody. I mean, I ran around that rock looking for somebody, and nobody was there. I was like, oh.
Let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
And I hope somebody out there can, we still got a couple minutes, right?
Oh yeah, we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay. Sentient, non-sentient ghosts, intelligent or not. The guy you just talked about, that's an intelligent haunt. Why?
Yes.
Because he saw you, he acknowledged you. Mm-hmm. A ghost that is just standing there, maybe at port arms with his weapon, and he just disappears. He comes back. Same. Is that really a ghost, or is that just energy, or is that the same? Am I making sense?
Yep. Yeah,
residual versus intelligent. Is a residual haunt truly a ghost, or is it just energy, or is it all the same? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
That's a debate
for
we're
me,
having right now.
I know if anyone has any comments on that, please comment. But for me, I believe they're all paranormal under the paranormal category. But like you said, Is it an actual ghost or is it just energy? Because that's why we call it residual. It's residual energy.
Exactly.
That's just there.
Exactly. So, yes, it is paranormal, but is it truly an apparition as we like to describe it? Right. So I don't know. Just an interesting debate we as a team are having right now. Because so many people in Gettysburg have seen a Union or a Confederate soldier actually acknowledge them. Well, that's obviously an intelligent or sentient haunt.
Okay. So, yeah, and there's a couple comments coming through.
Okay. It's a residual living people. It's a residual, and living people can be recorded.
Yeah.
Help me with that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I clicked on the wrong one because I was going to actually ask Anita. Anita, if you can clarify that a little bit for us, that would be great.
Great. What's that here? Okay, well, some people, Philip, wouldn't agree with you, though. I do. I happen to agree. It's not a ghost. It is paranormal, but it's not a ghost because it's energy trapped and somehow is being replayed. And I think that's another interesting part of the field that needs to be studied is how that's happening. Is the energy stored in this piece of quartz, this granite or whatever wood? What's causing it to come out? Is it time of day, time of year, an event that's happening that causes it to come out? Just another interesting area that deserves study.
Yeah, and Anita responded, residuals are not exactly
okay, so we're all pretty much in the same boat there. Yeah.
And she says that there's certain conditions that are always in place. And Bob says he agrees 100%.
Now, what Anita just said is of interest, though, that there are certain environmental conditions that are always in place. Do we have documentation on that? Do we have documentation and we may, but the problem is it's not shared with anybody. And I agree with you, Anita. I do, so don't misunderstand me. But this is where I'm getting at with the collection of preservation of evidence. How can we say that certain environmental conditions are always in place if we have not recorded them, if we have not documented them, if we can't go back and look 5 years later when something happens? And that's where I'm coming from with my IBPR organization, is the collection of this evidence so we can go back and look and we can say, when the temperature is this and the moon phase is this and the humidity is that, this is always happening. Oh man, that's hardcore evidence. That's something we can put our finger on. So great.
Yeah, and she commented back to her, she was meaning residual and static hauntings are 3D recordings.
Right. Yep. I totally agree. But what's causing us to see them? What's causing it to come out at that point? And you're right. I think it is environmental conditions, but we got to document it. So.
And then from Philip.
Ghosts can use telepathy to allow you to see them, but anyone can see a residual because there's no consciousness. That's an interesting point of view. Now, I never quite put the telepathy part of it that allows you to see them, but it makes sense because the residual, because there's no consciousness. Once again, I think that's a really interesting concept, Phil, and we need to start collecting evidence to prove that hypothesis. I like that a lot. That's interesting. See, this is what I'm talking about. Discussion, getting this stuff out. This is how we all learn and share, and this is how we get better at what we do. So.
Okay, and it looks like we are caught up and we have 5 minutes left. So if you can let everybody know where they can find you.
Sure. You can get a hold of me. My email is ghostguy59@gmail.com, and you can check us out on Facebook at either Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation or Indian River Hauntings, and you can find our website at www.paranormalfbi.com or www.indianriverhauntings.com. And love to hear from you. Would love to hear any thoughts or ideas, and certainly if you come down this way, would love to see you.
Okay, well, thank you for being a guest. I'm so excited to have you, and I definitely want to have you on again so we can talk about some of the other stuff that we hinted towards and discuss.
I hope my thoughts and concepts made sense to everybody. I appreciate you having me on here. I always get excited talking about this subject, so thanks for having me on.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm Heather Lee. I'm one of the hosts for Ghost Education 101. You can find my team at Exploration Paranormal here on Facebook, as well as www.explorationparanormal.com. Or you can find my personal page where I post blogs and other things about the Warren Legacy Foundation at Dr. Heather Lee. And for Ghost Education, you can continue to follow us here on Facebook at Ghost Education 101. And next week, or not 2 weeks from today, I think I have the date right. I did that real quick. Our next presentation will be 2 weeks from today, and Philip Wyatt, one of our co-hosts, will be sharing important paranormal investigation forms and how to use them. And just a little heads up. Congratulations, Philip, for starting your own team or a new team in Georgia. It's Georgia Paranormal Investigations. Make sure you follow him. I know we have information on Ghost Education 101 about that as well. So thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next time.